Welcome to this week's edition of the Nation's Capital Sports Show. A belated Happy New Year to you and yours, where it's most definitely on. I'm Kevin Jeter, hanging out with Afshin Bernard, Stephen Mangas, and Vincent Charles. Gentlemen, let's get started talking about what we enjoy talking about the best and the most in the DMV and beyond, and that is sports. First, let's start off talking about those Washington Nationals. I like talking about baseball in the dead of winter, and so let's do that because the Nationals have been wheeling and dealing throughout the winter. As a matter of fact, Tyler Clippard, the relief pitcher, is no longer with us, and Max Scherzer, they went for the money grab there, or Scherzer went for the money grab, and he was signed to a multi-year deal. It's a 7-year deal worth $210 million. It's going to be paid over the next 14 years. And then, let's see here. Yunel Escobar was signed to play second base, and this may seem like a short-term grab, but let's start out talking about that Max Scherzer deal and what it means for the Washington Nationals. Vincent.
Well, what it means is they'll have the strongest rotation in the National League, in the majors, and perhaps one of the strongest rotations in the history of baseball. Let's start there. I was not a fan of the Scherzer deal at first when I thought about it, but now that he's here, I think the Nationals have enough young arms to help whatever was lost, especially in the bullpen. We lost 200 innings from Detweiler and Tyler Clippard leaving, and another question that I had was Tyler Clippard, should they have gotten rid of him? Jansen, the guy they got for Clippard, last half of last season, he had a 6.46 ERA.
All right, so let's continue with the brass tacks of this deal. A $25 million signing bonus for Scherzer. Not a bad deal because he did gamble, came from the Detroit Tigers. They had offered him a previous year a huge deal, but he turned it down. And, you know, when all said and done, I don't blame him. He went after the best opportunity that he could. He waited. Yeah. He was patient. And the Nationals were the recipients of the Max Scherzer lottery.
Kevin, Scherzer bet on himself, and he won. Detroit offered him a 6-year, $145 million contract, and he turned it down before the 2014 season. And he came out well ahead as he's getting 250 or so when all is said and done here over a long period. Yep. I am not a big fan of this move, however. I do think that other things are going to take place because of this move. One is Jordan Zimmerman will probably be traded. I almost guarantee that he'll be traded, if not by the trade deadline, then even before the season begins. And if you notice, the Nats are very quiet about that because they don't want to lead anyone on right now. They want to get the best they can for Jordan Zimmerman. Another one is I'm not a big fan of Yunel Escobar. He's got so many problems, a lot of injuries over the course of his career. I liked him when he was with Atlanta way back. He had a lot of passion, a lot of heart on the field. I don't see that from him anymore. I don't know what this does to my man Danny Espinosa. Tyler Clippard, we all, I think, are in agreement. That's a big loss.
Yes.
Yeah. What's going to happen to Tanner Roark? We'll see what happens with him. And then Ian Desmond, does this, if they ship Zimmerman and then maybe Denard Span's money comes off the contracts next year, what's going to happen with Ian Desmond? He was supposed to be the face of this franchise. He also turned down, like Scherzer, turned down a big contract. His contract ends at the end of this 2015 season. Max Scherzer bet on himself, and he won.
That's right.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback, and I'll say, stay with that, and Escobar go there first. You mean way back when he was playing shortstop, not second, because now his field in the play has declined. So there are some worries defensively, and that's probably the area that they need to improve more, was to continue to have better defense and better run support. That's where it went wrong in the playoffs. And as Vincent said, the best pitching rotation in baseball, they already had that. In 2014, the staff compiled the 3.04 ERA, which was the best in the MLB, and then they went out and made that even better, which is it's kind of an odd strategy. You're going to bulk up the thing that you're already best at, as opposed to addressing the other areas. Then you lose Clippard in the bullpen, like we said, who obviously he was having some great time here with the Nationals as well. And that's going to be a hard spot to fill. But I do like some of the young guys in the bullpen, and I don't think that the amount they got back with Escobar was even. And the other deals that we're going to see happen, chain reaction, they need to make sure they're on the winning side of those.
That's right. And we will see more deals. You can best to bet about that.
Yeah, we're going to have to.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. As of this broadcast, we're like 15 days away from spring training when pitchers and catchers report. If you're just tuning in, no, your eyes are not deceiving you. This is the nation's capital sports show where it's most definitely on. I'm Kevin, hanging out with Afshin, Stephen, and Vincent. Let's continue to talk about those Washington Nationals.
You know, you have to think this is, like Vincent alluded to, the best starting rotation in Major League Baseball, or at least it looks like it on paper. It definitely is. And the National League East is going to be so bad that they should easily win the East. But to me, it's what happens after that when they get in the playoffs. Should they win the East, get into the playoffs, and because there are some good teams in the National League.
Right.
Well, we know the nemesis for the Washington Nationals. They can't seem to get. 1 year was St. Louis. Last year we know that it was the Giants. They need to have that a little bit of energy in their pitching and in their hitting. That just went down the toilet. But we won't regress to that particular point. Let's talk a little bit in terms of where you see the Washington Nationals going this year. Obviously, I have them slated to make the playoffs, but the big deal has been with their pitching. Max Scherzer has not gone in his career, beyond 7 innings. I mean, that's because of the amount of pitching styles that he does and the number of strikeouts that he gets. I mean, that's a plus. But what's going to happen if they need him in a pinch? Would he be able to go those 2 extra innings?
Yeah, that's, I think, a very important point. I know we have like a minute left on this, Kevin, but if they have Max Scherzer in the playoffs right now and they, he's at 6 or 7 innings, he does get you the strikeouts.
Right.
What happens after that in an important playoff game?
Yeah. And then how do you end up deciding during a playoff series which pitchers you're going to pitch? I mean, this is going to be hot hand because now you've got 5 great pitchers that could all pitch in a playoff game for any team. And the Nationals were just proven to that you don't need that in the playoffs. You got beat with 3 pitchers.
Well, we'll see how they improve upon their hitting. That's what I'm looking forward to. And with acquiring Scherzer, Vince, I will say this to you, that those $6 bag of peanuts that you normally get at national games will probably be $12. But I digress.
Could be.
All right, let's talk a little bit about another team in D.C. that's doing good, the Washington Wizards. John Wall, of course, has been voted to start in his first NBA All-Star game in 2015. As of this broadcast, they're 32-20, and the team is beginning to gel. Afshin.
Yeah, they are, and John Wall deserves to be in the All-Star game. He deserves to be an All-Star starter. They've slumped a little bit recently, but they came back now, and they recently destroyed the Brooklyn Nets. I think the 4 of us could destroy their starting 5, actually. But they've done well. Bradley Beal, that's the main concern. He's hurt, and I'm not sure how long he will be out.
Right.
I like what Otto Porter has done. He has started 4 or 5 games this year, and every time he has started, the Wizards have won. He's averaged, I think, 12 points and 5 rebounds. That's a minuscule sample, I know, but let's see what he can do. Now is the time, because Bradley Beal is out, to see what Otto Porter can do. But they're not catching Atlanta, but they're really in the playoff.
I don't know who's going to catch Atlanta. They're just indestructible.
Yeah, they are. They're not going to catch those Hawks, man. The Hawks are a team type type of organization. Popovich's assistants there, but
that's right.
The Wizards are good. This is the best season they've had in a long time.
Well, the Hawks are flying.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what makes the Hawks stand out more, and part of what has some fear in me for the Wizards, is the ability to play an entire game. The Wizards, part of what we've seen them slip lately, is going down 20 points and having to battle their way back, or being up 15 points and then losing a lead. And it's multiple games within the past few weeks. You talk about Arizona, LA, Toronto, all of those games were double-digit downs, near 20 points, and had to work their way back. And I'm sorry, I forgot to bring my Gortat action figure from that Toronto game. But
is that on your shoulder? Is that big,
it's got the cape and everything. So that looks good. I mean, the Gortat action figure is real great right now.
But all in all, in terms of the Washington Wizards, you got to like how they're playing. The bench is coming to life. At least with this particular generation of the Wizards, they're able to sustain a lead, and they may give it up, but they're able to come back. And you got to kind of like that. So it's kind of like Midland at best. Yeah. Now they need to establish themselves in terms of keeping up this pace. Vincent.
I think the All-Star break is coming at a good time. With some of the injuries like Wall and Beal, I think they're going to get a chance for a little bit of rest right now.
Well, John Wall is starting the All-Star game. I don't think he's going to get that much rest.
No, good point. But the team overall is going to get a rest.
Yeah.
I like the development of Otto Porter. I think one of the differences And because they're playing a little bit down is at the beginning of the year, the bench really played well. But the bench has kind of tailed off, so they're not playing as well. And with some of the injuries and some of the guys losing time, but I think with the All-Star
The
break.
KG veteran, Paul Pierce, has come to play at most parts. He's lived up to his reputation.
They're saying that a couple of the Wizards are pointing fingers, not necessarily laying blame, but pointing fingers and saying you need to step up your game. And I'm wondering if Paul Pierce is that one who's taken on that role and saying, look, young Wall, Beal, step up your game right now because we're losing these games. We can't give up. We can't go down to the LA Lakers by 19 points, is what Paul Pierce is saying. There's no way you should go down to the sorry Los Angeles Lakers by 19 points and come back and have to eke them out at the end.
Win the games that you're supposed to win,
right?
And then beat the crap out of them like you did in Nets.
Handily win the games that you're supposed to win. You know, control the games throughout in the entire duration of the game, and not take quarters off.
Well, that goes back to your bench.
That's right. I love the way, speaking of the bench, Randy Whitman has been circulating that bench and giving a lot of individuals an opportunities, and they've earned it. And we talk about Otto Porter, whose play, whose play has been ebullient.
Yeah, he's like I said, he's only started about 4 or 5 games, and they've won every game he has started. But now that he's getting that playing time, especially with Beal out, we'll see what kind of player he really is as the number 3 overall player in the 2014 draft. So now. Or the 2000, he's got to be able to step up his game too. And Paul Pierce is not going to be afraid to go to the youngster just because he's young, 21, 22 years old, and say,
no,
you got to play better.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
right.
there's
that's how you get your stripes in the NBA, and that's how you earn the ability to play game in and day out in the NBA. Vincent.
I think there's some talk about Andre Miller dropping off too. Some people are saying he's showing his age, and some people are a little worried that there's not enough backup when John Wall is out. Some people are even thinking maybe they should make some type of move down the stretch.
Well, I think with Andre Miller is somebody that you can, because of his age, he is the oldest player in the NBA, that you can probably work around his minutes, because when the Wizards do make the playoffs, they're going to need him more than they'll need almost any other reserve on that team.
They're going to need him because Andre Miller, has shown throughout his NBA career in the uptick and in the pressurized minutes of games that you need to win or secure. He's actually going to give you that great veteran presence along with Paul Pierce.
Smart play.
You need that, smart play. So the old guys, are pretty, doing what they're supposed to do.
That's right. Vital experience. It's vital to have Andre Miller, Paul Pierce. Nene's been around a long time too. Gortat. So it's good to have them in there. You got some in the backcourt. You got some in the front court. So we'll see Vincent, but I know right now he's not doing well, but I think that they need to keep working with him and probably give him a few less minutes on the court.
And with the Washington Wizards, you got to love what you're seeing because, this year's team, as opposed to previous year's teams, they have been solid in their play. They have been very enthusiastic. John Wall, 4 years ago, you couldn't say that about him, but the youngster has put in the time and practice, and he's earned it, and he's playing the way that he has played, and a solid athlete. I really love John Wall.
He's really done well.
That's right. Yeah. Let's go on to a team that continues to do well, the Washington Capitals. I love this, man. We're talking about the Wizards that are doing good. Now we're talking about the Capitals that are doing good. As of this broadcast, they're 28-15, and the hotly contested Eastern Conference. And who knows if they win a few more games, they may take the lead. You got to love the way that they've been playing. They've been playing some inspired hockey on Golden Pond. Stephen.
Absolutely. They've been in a strong state of mind recently. And last time I was here when we talked about the Capitals, it was still kind of a judgment period on Trotz. And I think now that we've really seen a lot more of that, and you've seen this team identity really start to change and take shape into that tougher, grittier team, especially compared to the years past. You've got multiple games now where you see them going down and have to get physical. That shutout against Pittsburgh, they really showed the true colors and what the Capitals can be if they're playing at their best. And I love it. I love seeing it. The couple things that I would look at is they need to score first. Their dominance is certainly coming from being the first team to score. They're 25-1-4 when the Capitals score first versus being 3-14-6 if the other team scores first.
Yeah.
And that number only is at 3 because they just, against Anaheim and Ottawa, were scored first against, but were able to come back and win those games. So hopefully they've learned that and starting to get that on an uptick. And once they do, I think you're really going to see them reach the full potential.
Another stat I'll throw in there, which I think is really important. First of all, Mike Green, I guess we're wrong about him, but this is contract year, right, Stephen? That's another story, though. But we always say here on this set, there's two things that you need to do if you're the Washington Capitals. You beat the teams in your conference, and you have a great goaltender. 19 of the last 21 games that the Washington Capitals have played against Eastern Conference opponents, who they really need to beat, they've at least gotten a point out of it.
Right.
Braden Holtby is 25-10-1 right now. If he is not the MVP of this team, I don't know who is. Those are the two things I'll say about the Washington Capitals right now. He is playing lights out between the pipes.
And Barry Trotz, his acquisition as a coach has made all the difference, man. I mean, you can really tell the difference in which they play. He holds everyone accountable, and he doesn't point fingers, but he expects everyone to be a unit and a family. But you have to come and do your job.
Yeah, you do, and hockey, just as much as any other sport. I mean, you really are like a family. You got 82 games a year, and you travel together, and you do all these things. They got a West Coast trip coming up, and then they come back to play Pittsburgh, and they play the Islanders. They play those tough Eastern Conference opponents when they come back from a tough West Coast trip. This is the time now where we'll find out what kind of medal they have. As a team.
Absolutely. I think we will see that, and I think it's going to be good. I'm going to jump in on your Mike Green point since you said that we're wrong about it.
Well,
I don't see that.
Contract year.
I don't quite see that. Mike Green is playing extremely well.
He is.
I still do think that there is an option to look for. Maybe he's helped trade value if they are going to look at trading him. Trade deadline next month, March 2nd. And I wouldn't be opposed to still seeing Mike Green go. You're talking about a guy that can play on most teams as one of the top 4 defenders, and he's the 5th defender on this team, which is good for them right now. But he's not a consistent.
Question is, who
still.
could the Capitals get for Mike Green?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. If I can jump in right now, I know two
You've been
teams
jumping
are
in all
interested.
segments.
I do. Man. I know.
Vincent, jump in soon.
Let me get this one thing out of the way. The Detroit Red Wings are highly interested in Mike Green. They want an offensive-minded defenseman, and I know that they've offered a couple of players. I don't know if I'm the Washington Capitals. I think Norquist was one, and Tatar is another one. If they offered this guy, this kid named Tatar, I'd take him in a heartbeat. But I don't know who they're going to offer. But I know Detroit is interested in him.
And you've got the scouting from Detroit for us, right?
Well, and those are my other boys.
And I was only kidding with you about jumping in. That's what you're supposed to do. Vincent, go ahead, jump on in.
With this tougher schedule, I think they're going to see some matchups down the line against some of these teams, and they'll be able to figure out who or what kind of deal they could make in the second half of the season. But I think there's a good chance they may make some kind of deal.
Yeah, I was kidding about Mike Green. I do agree with you on that. I haven't changed, but it's just like, here it is, Stephen.
He's outperformed our expectations.
Yeah, he's like Trevor Ariza.
All of a sudden he's back to being a star, and I think that's partly due to the way that Trotz has the defenders playing offense in his system. It wasn't the same, with the previous coach, with Adam Oates, and that's where we really saw Mike Green dip. But still, and if you say, what are we going to get from that, Tatar, I was unaware that that's an option. That is definitely something I would consider. I mean, the forwards are very crowded on the Capitals right now, for sure, but they don't have anybody that's solidly playing that right wing spot on the top line, or they could use another solid second liner to stay on that second line. But everything else, you look at that third line, fourth line, that's really what's got them where they're at right now. Because they've got the strongest third line in the NHL right now. And that tough identity that we've got, that's what you want to see in the playoffs. It's a playoff type team. And
that's a strength with Trotz.
Right.
The way he's switching up the lines when he needs to. When he needs to make a move here, make a move there, switch guys around. Those two young guys, Burakovsky and Evgeny Kuznetsov are really doing good for young rookies' first years in the NHL.
I agree with you 100%. They surprised me.
Yeah, Kuznetsov at first, at the beginning of the year, you saw it kind of slowly happen where he was adjusting to playing that center position in the NHL and getting there, but now he's really starting to got that down, and he's that solid number 2 center for the Capitals.
And don't forget about the chemistry between Trotz and Ovechkin, as long as they're happy.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. We live in a harmonious state if the coach and great 8 can remain happy.
That's right.
And good contention for the Washington Capitals, because they need to keep up this style of play in order for them to make it into the playoffs and make it beyond the first round of the playoffs and make it beyond the third round of the playoffs. But we'll see how that gives as we continue here on the Nation's Capital Sports Show. We invite you to like the Nation's Capital Sports Show on Facebook. Coming up next, we're going to talk about as much sports as we can within 8 minutes with our Afshin Banab and Chris Jerry inspired all sorts of sports segment. I'm Kevin Judah, along with Afshin Banab, Vincent Charles, and Stephen Mangas. This is the nation's capital sports show, where it's most definitely on. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the nation's capital sports show, where it's most definitely on. I'm Kevin Judah, hanging out with my bosom buddies and Afshin Banab, Stephen Mangas, and Vincent Charles. Gentlemen, let's continue our foray in sports talk, but this time let's talk about the things that are happening beyond the DMV with our beloved All Sorts of Sports segment. I'm going to actually read some things, throw out some things to you guys. We can talk about it as we go along and have some fun with this. So let's start out with, on a sad note, Dean Smith, the legendary former North Carolina coach. He died at 83 years old, and what a contribution that he made to the game of college basketball, including Michael Jordan. Afshin.
Yeah, he had a cognitive disorder which led to Alzheimer's, and he is gone. He is one of my favorite sports personalities of all time, not just for what he did on the court with 11 Final Fours and 2 national championships, but a 97% graduation rate, had some of the greatest players of all time. But he taught his kids to speak for themselves and to speak on issues of social justice in this country, and he did that with civil rights marches. He changed the way Chapel Hill was by going into lunchrooms, by going into restaurants with African Americans back in the day and sitting at lunch tables with them. He opposed the war in Vietnam. He opposed the war in Iraq. He was for gay marriage. He spoke out on a nuclear freeze with the Soviet Union. He did so many things. He taught so many people that you got to think beyond whatever you do. And he was one of the great personalities and one of the great minds in college basketball history.
Stephen.
Yeah, I got to be honest, it's obviously a little bit before my time for everything that he was able to do and accomplish at North Carolina, but certainly put the building blocks in place for when I was a young kid and a fan of UNC with Vince Carter and everybody else. All that wouldn't have been probably not as accomplishable if it weren't for him.
That's right. Vincent.
As Afshin alluded to, it was more than wins and losses with Coach Smith, and he has had an impact on a lot of lives.
All right, let's move on. Floyd Mayweather tells Manny Pacquiao for the 7th time or 10th time or the 120th time.
I like that one better.
We have to make this fight happen. Afshin, that sounds like a bunch of garbage.
Yeah, it's just something that they regurgitate every now and then,
That's
every
right.
few months, right?
Yeah.
They just...
But we supposedly are at the closest that we've ever been for having this fight. We've actually had a contract go, and now it's between HBO and Showtime or something, and then it keeps changing.
Well,
they're going to fight.
Pacquiao
they're
and
gonna fight.
Mayweather were in the same room
Right.
last week for a press conference that led to nothing, but it's just a bunch of double speak. Vincent.
Yeah.
Once the money is right and all the parties compromise and agree on that, we'll see something.
Yeah, and the money's going to be right
When is the money going to be right? These guys are going to be 50 by the time they set this up.
I hear violins and bongos, you know, but no deal.
Yeah,
But we're gonna,
HBO Mayweather Pacquiao coming from the retirement home.
that's right. All right. Come on, put it up.
yeah.
All right, let's talk
Turns out
about
I do
Adam
know that.
Silver, NBA commish, says that the NBA playoffs are in need of a change. Now, Silver comments were based on what some may deem on the disparity of the quality of teams in the East and the West. Steve?
Absolutely, there's a disparity between the East and West. I mean,
You think?
Yeah, there's no argument there. You can win over 50 games and not make the playoffs in the West,
Right.
and be basically 500 or near under and make it in the East. So, sure, something should change, and I'm with that. There's different talks on how it could change, whether it's all top 16, which I'm not in favor of, or the 6 division winners, and then just the top 10 after that could be fine. Obviously, your difficulty is with the logistics and flying, travel schedules and the scheduling for the playoffs when it gets there, but I'm sure they can figure it out.
I don't have a problem with it either. I think it's cyclical, though, because if this were the 1990s, we'd be talking about the East being the dominant conference with Chicago, Detroit, Boston, Philadelphia, and the Knicks back then. It would be totally a reverse of what's happening now. So, if it happens, then great. I would say that they should make the first round 3 out of 5 instead of 4 out of 7. If it doesn't happen and they still keep the status quo, I'm okay with it too. I'm just,
I like the 3 out of 5 idea. I don't like the idea where when these weaker teams get in the playoffs, it's like rewarding mediocrity.
Yeah.
And I think a change needs to be made there.
Yeah,
Almost like the MLS. Excuse me. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say too, and the travel argument doesn't hold too much water to me because you look at baseball, which is another sport that plays in tight periods of time, and the Nationals were playing against the Giants. You're talking coast to coast right there in that travel because you have the NL and the AL, and maybe the NBA could get rid of East and West altogether and make it, an NFC, AFC kind of thing. It's just an idea, something out there that you could do.
That's right.
There's options,
That's right. Well, I'm going to throw this one in here. This one is for more or less for you, Afshin and Vincent, to play along with. One word, all caps. NASCAR.
Dale Earnhardt Jr., Vincent. That's all I got to say. Daytona 500 coming up.
Well, they got to bank on Dale Earnhardt Jr. as being the face of NASCAR because Jeff Gordon, this is his last year.
This is it. This is it. And I'm in the tank for Jeff Gordon. Loved him, no pun intended, by the way.
So if Jeff Gordon's last year, then why aren't we saying Jeff Gordon? Let's
we should
Jeff
say
Gordon
Jeff
right off into the sunset.
Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt Jr. I hope that he can come into the Super Bowl of race cars, Super Bowl of NASCAR events, the Daytona 500, and it would be great if he could pull it off.
It'd be so nice to be down in Daytona kicking back.
Cheering on.
All right.
Jeff Gordon. Yeah.
All right, here's to our fashion sense and sensibilities or non-sensibilities. Wizards ambassador Whale is reportedly talking to Yeezus, not Jesus, but Kanye West about a redesign of the Wizards uniforms. Oh, God.
Well, I'm hoping this is only the third uniforms, the blue ones, and not a all three uniform changeover. But
I've seen some of that stuff that Kanye West wears, man.
No, like it?
No,
Wizards are going to be out there in a cape. The shorts
looking
are
like a
be
matador and stuff, and that, whatever.
Maybe Gortat will get to play with that cape.
Oh my! Wale's from DC, and he thinks he's part of everything that happens in DC.
Yeah, it's something that we,
but what
Whale's fine too. Whatever it is.
It's something that we see in the NBA increasingly right now, and perhaps in some other sports with these hip hop guys getting involved in being ambassadors. You've got Drake in Toronto, and obviously Jay-Z being a part owner in Brooklyn and making that really the Jay-Z Nets. I mean,
well, I think we should be able to vote on any uniforms that.
Hopefully they're not consulting the Oregon Ducks.
Gracious.
Hopefully not.
All right.
No.
All right, in celebration, actually, we have a couple of minutes left. Let's add in this one. Let's actually free flow this one right here. Locally, Al Ovechkin reached a milestone.
Yes,
Stephen.
Yes, he's became, I believe, one of only 5 players, and most recently was Gretzky and one other player that were able to do it in the 90s or hit that point. But in his first 10 years in the National Hockey League, he scored 30 or more goals every single year, which is incredible accomplishment.
That is.
Yeah. I mean, he's already solidifying, a place, and he's got years left to play. The guy's only 29.
Well, his contract doesn't end until like 2021, right around there. So
hopefully we can do 15 years for 30 or more goals.
Certainly been worth the money.
That's right. All right. Vincent, one word. I like that. All right, here's something I'm going to throw.
Money.
That's right. I'm going to throw something at you guys. I wrote this down. Sports Illustrated, the swimsuit edition is out. Go ahead.
It is out. It's looking good.
You see it?
They've got actually a different. They're taking a different approach to it. So I like what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, it's even available in a digital form now. So I don't know. No comments. All right. So we have less than a minute left. I want you guys to mention your in celebration of Black History Month, your a sports hero. I'm going to go with Arthur Ashe, tennis star, belated Arthur Ashe.
Oh yeah, he was great. You stole mine, but I had 2 in one in my back pocket, and that one, of course, if it's not Arthur Ashe, it's Muhammad Ali. Just like Dean Smith, he did so many things outside the ring.
All right, Stephen.
Well, I'm the hockey guy, so I'm going to stick with Willie O'Ree, who broke the color barrier in the NHL. Canadian native, was the first black player in the NHL, debuting in 1958 for the Boston Bruins.
All right, last but not least.
Roberto Clemente, great human being, lost his life helping other human beings, and a great baseball player.
All right. That just about sums it up. Thank you much, gentlemen. Afshin Banat, Vincent Charles, and Stephen Mangas. You can email us at info@tncss.net. Go to our webpage at www.tncss.net. You can watch the nation's capital sports show right here at AIM via Comcast 69 and Fios 38. Sunday at 3 p.m., Monday at 9:30 a.m., and Friday at 9:30 p.m. For the entire staff here at the Nation's Capital Sports Show, I'm Kevin Jeter on behalf of Vincent Charles, Afshin Banab, and Stephen Mangas. Get well, Chris Jerry. We'll talk to you on the next edition of the Nation's Capital Sports Show. We have a guest, Shannon Hagler.
That's right. Shannon Hagler will be here. Customize his shoes. You'll
That's
see what
right.
he does. He's an entrepreneur.
That's right. He's a high school sophomore, too.
Yep, he
That's
is
right.
St. John's.
St. John's, and that's going to be fun
Good
on the
young
next
man.
edition of the Nation's Capital Sports Show, where it's most definitely on. Take care.